You're wearing clothes right now. You didn't think about it. You just did it. The same way you breathe, the same way you blink. Every single human on Earth wears them. Tribes in the Amazon, people in the Sahara, even groups with zero contact with the outside world. They all cover themselves with something. But for roughly 97% of human history, nobody wore anything at all. Your ancestors walked around completely exposed for hundreds of thousands of years. And it was just fine. So something happened, something changed, and the question of what and when and why turns out to have an answer that has almost nothing to do with what you were taught in school. Let's start with the answer everyone gives. Cold weather. Humans needed to stay warm, so they grabbed animal skins and wrapped themselves up. Simple, obvious, almost completely wrong. Here's the problem. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, evolved in sub-Saharan Africa, not in an ice age, not in a tundra, in one of the hottest, most brutal environments on the planet. And look at our closest relatives. Chimpanzees live in cold mountain environments, some at over 8,000 feet altitude. Temperatures drop below freezing. They sleep in trees in the rain, and they are completely, totally naked. So cold weather alone doesn't explain it. Clothing had to have started for a different reason, and then later became useful for cold, not the other way around. Here's where it gets strange. For decades, scientists couldn't figure out exactly when humans started wearing clothes, because fabric doesn't fossilize. You cannot dig up a 100,000-year-old shirt. There is nothing to find. So scientists did something nobody expected. They didn't look at rocks. They didn't look at cave paintings. They looked at lice, specifically body lice. Because here's the thing about body lice that most people don't know. They are completely different from head lice, and that difference is the key to everything. Head lice live in hair. They evolved alongside us for millions of years, but body lice cannot survive without fabric. They don't live on skin. They live in clothing. Without clothes, body lice go extinct immediately. So the moment body lice first appeared on humans is the exact moment humans first started wearing clothes, because one cannot exist without the other. In 2003, a team of scientists sequenced the DNA of body lice and compared it to head lice. By calculating how long the two species had been evolving separately, they could pinpoint exactly when body lice first split off from head lice. The answer was 170,000 years ago, give or take 40,000 years. That is when humans first started wearing clothes. Not because of an ice age, not because of cold. 170,000 years ago in Africa, still extremely warm, which immediately raises a more interesting question. If it wasn't cold, then why? What was happening 170,000 years ago that made humans suddenly decide to cover themselves? The first answer, and this one is deeply unglamorous, is parasites. Africa 170,000 years ago was teeming with insects, ticks, flies, biting things that carried disease and infected open skin constantly. A simple animal skin wrapped around the torso blocked a significant percentage of those bites. Not all of them, but enough to give the clothed humans a survival advantage over the unclothed ones. And in evolution, a small advantage is everything. But here's where it gets actually interesting, because parasites explain why the first humans might have grabbed a skin and wrapped it around themselves. They don't explain why humans kept doing it, refined it, decorated it, and eventually made it one of the most complex social systems in human history. Because the second reason humans started wearing clothes, and this is the part nobody talks about, has nothing to do with protection. It has everything to do with power. In every early human society ever studied, clothing became a signal. Who you are, what group you belong to, how much status you carry. The chieftain didn't wear a lion skin because it was warm. He wore it because nobody else was allowed to. The clothing was the claim. Anthropologists studying early human remains have found evidence of deliberate decoration going back at least 100,000 years, shells with holes drilled through them. Ochre used to dye materials, beads strung into patterns. These weren't functional. They were statements. I am this. I belong here. I am not one of them. This is the part that should genuinely stop you for a second. The thing that separates a plain animal skin from a decorated one is not survival. It is identity. And humans were doing this 100,000 years before writing existed, before cities, before agriculture, before almost everything we call civilization. The need to signal who you are through what you wear is not a modern invention. It is not vanity. It is not shallow. It is one of the oldest impulses in the human species, older than the wheel, older than farming, possibly older than language itself. But here's the part that really gets me. Scientists believe that the move toward clothing also coincided with another massive change: humans losing their body hair. We are the only primate on Earth that is essentially naked under our clothes. Every other primate kept their fur. We didn't. And the leading theory is that we lost it deliberately because clothing replaced it. Once early humans had clothing for warmth and protection, the evolutionary pressure to keep body hair disappeared. In fact, less body hair became an advantage. Fewer parasites, fewer ticks, fewer places for insects to hide and breed. So over tens of thousands of years, we shed it. We traded the fur we were born with for the skins we chose to wear. Think about that. We literally redesigned our own bodies around something we invented. That is how fundamental clothing is to what we are. Today, you put on clothes without thinking about it. But the next time you choose what to wear, really choose. Not just grab whatever's there. Notice notice what you're doing. Notice what you're communicating. Notice what you're claiming about who you are. You're not doing something modern. You're not doing something shallow. You're doing something your species has been doing for 170,000 years.